Okay, this is really the end of part 4. I didn't want to start the video over. I had a little commotion there. So I'm going to pick up with conversion. We were basically saying, you can convert or be converted, led to believe something different. That's what conversion is. You're led to believe something different, and then you act upon and adhere to that ideology. I was raised a traditional Southern Baptist. I converted to Methodist. So that's a conversion. Some people convert completely from one religious faith to another. I know people who were raised Christians who converted to Islam, and vice versa. So if you can convert, you can deconvert. People can be deconverged, if you will. Now, deprogramming, sometimes you get people who become such fervent believers that you can actually see the development of sects and even cults. And sometimes people make the argument that congregation members are brainwashed. And there are some charismatic leaders in some religious sects, if you will, that do try to brainwash their subjects so they can control them. That's an unfortunate misapplication of religion, because certainly not all religious faiths or churches are trying to brainwash people. But there are some leaders in some churches that do try to do that. So deprogramming would be the process of reversing that brainwashing, which can be really, really hard. A church is simply a building. It can be simply a building where you attend, or it could be defined or seen as being an overall larger process, like the Methodist Church, for example, or the Catholic Church. We'll use the Catholic Church as an example. Catholic Church, when you say that, can encompass every Catholic building, every Catholic church where a service is held in the entire world. So it can be very broad. We could look at it very specifically as well as one church. A denomination is simply a division or a branch of a major religion. Pretty much when you look at the Christian faith, you have different denominations. Like I said before, you have Baptists, you have Presbyterians, you have Methodists. We could go on and on and on. Is one any more correct or better or more right than the other? I would say no. But they're different ways. They practice a little differently. They may worship a little differently, but they're basically getting at the same ideas, worshiping the same God, just in a little bit of a different way. Now, a lot of times you'll see some break-offs, some radical break-offs. This is what we're talking about when we talk about sects. These aren't just denomination break-offs. These are people with completely different views, radical views. Often they are frustrated with liberal things they perceive to be happening within their church or denomination, so they break off and form a more strict organization with stricter rules to adhere to. What happens is that as sects grow and they get bigger, just like with groups that we talked about before, there tends to be more disagreement, more dissension. It's harder to agree on norms and goals, and they actually can turn into denominations or other sects. And then you have cults. A cult is a lot different. A cult can stem from a religious church, belief system, denomination, sect, or it can just kind of come out of nowhere. It can kind of come from stuff that is not religious. But with a cult, you generally have a charismatic religious figure who is exerting power and control in a very manipulative fashion over his or her members. Charles Manson was considered to be a cult leader with the Manson family, for example. So we could talk about other examples, and your book will do that, and we'll talk more about that. But my apologies for the confusion at the end of the last video. So this is just about 4 minutes and 20 seconds or so here. So that is it. We're going to call that the end of the PowerPoint presentation on religion. Make sure you have good notes on this stuff, because some of this stuff you won't find in your book. Okay, thank you very much. That's it for this part.